Hello there. It's good to see you again today. We're continuing our thinking as we go through parts of Luke's Gospel. And we're in Luke chapter 6. And we're thinking about some of these very difficult things that Jesus said to his disciples and the people who were listening to him. And we talk about the fact that the Christian ethic, the Christian way of life turns everything upside down, turns the standards by which we would naturally live completely on their head. And we're in Luke 6, and we're looking at this bit between verse 27 and 36, when Jesus calls us to love our enemies and to bless those who curse us. Do good to those who hate you, and to pray for those who abuse you. It's a really difficult thing to do. It's difficult even to think about doing it. But the thing it doesn't say in this passage is that we have to like them. We don't have to like the people that we love. And many of us, when we're in a much simpler form, when we're parents and our children go through various phases of their growing up, there are times when we love the child, but we don't like them very much, the way they behave and the way they respond to us and the way they react and the things that they say. We don't like them at all. I have a distant relative, and I used to follow his adventures on Facebook. And I didn't like what he posted up and the language that he used. And I eventually stopped following him because I didn't like what I was reading. It doesn't change the fact that I love him and I pray for his good and for him to come to faith. But the things about him I don't like. And this is so true for us. And it says here, give to those who beg from you. And then there's a little bit about, if you love those who love you, what credit is that? Even sinners do that. Jesus is saying all the way through this that as Christians, we have to be different. We have to look different. We have to do things differently to what is the natural way to do it. In the natural, people have parties and meals and give gifts to people from whom they expect something in return. They do that. If that's all we do as Christians, we're no different. And Jesus is saying, even sinners love those who love them. People who haven't found faith, people who aren't Christians, people who aren't his followers, they care for the people they love. They look out for them. They give them gifts. They bless them. But we have to be different. We have to love those who are unlovely, those who are difficult to love. We're to lend, to give money, to help people without any expectation of return. And quite often people we help, they say, I'll pay you back when I can. And we know that they never will. And they don't, But that shouldn't stop us lending them, because it says here, if you do that, if you do good and you lend, expecting nothing in return, your reward will be great, and you'll be sons of the Most High, for he's kind to the ungrateful and the selfish. Be merciful, even as your Father is merciful. No, God is not only kind to those who like him. God is not just generous to those who worship him. God is generous to all. This age of grace, this new covenant era that we live in, is an era of grace and mercy and forgiveness and redemption and a chance for a better life, a chance for a change, a chance for everyone. And God is wooing all, not just those who already love him. He's not just looking after his own special set of people, as the Old Testament portrays it to us. He is looking after all. The new covenant changed everything. I've said this so often in our thinking, but it's something we really, really, really have to grasp, that when Jesus came, the Old Testament was closed. that chapter of the way God dealt with the world it was closed, and a new chapter began. And right at the top of it, the first thing that was said was what the angels said, and Luke records it, doesn't he? Peace, goodwill towards men, not peace, goodwill towards Israel, or peace, goodwill towards the children of Israel. No, peace, goodwill towards men, all men, not just those chosen, those who are part of the covenant people of God. It's changed. The new covenant has changed everything. And it is not a time now for judgment. And as our Father is being merciful at this time, we have to be merciful. It's a calling on us to be merciful, not vengeful, merciful. Vengeance is mine, says the Lord. When awful things happen to us, we are not to plot and plan and get our own back. When people need help and we know they're never going to be able to give anything back to us, we give, because it says in the new covenant, freely you've received, freely give. Everything we've received from God has come freely. It's freely given. And everything in our relationship with the people around us, everything in our attitude should be, I received it by grace. I'm not going to make you earn it. I'm not going to say to you, before I lend you, you have to show good faith. You have to be in the same job for a certain time to show that you're able to earn money. No, it's changed. Everything has changed. I don't know how bigger to make the statement, but absolutely every single aspect of God's relationship to mankind has changed because Jesus came. So here is the call, and it's like with the prayer. When Jesus taught them to pray, he said, don't pray in public so everyone can see you, because when everyone sees you and they pat you on the back, that's your reward. You know, when you give and you lend to people, don't give and lend expecting them to pay back, and never ask for interest on what you lend. Lend it freely. And I know for Terry and I, mostly people say, well, I'll give it back to you, thank you. And we say, no, don't give it back to us. Pass it on to someone else. Give it to someone else. We live differently because our Father provides for us. And therefore, when we give, we're being like him. He gives and gives and gives again. And we should give and give and give again, knowing that we can't outgive God. If we give to someone who can't give back to us, God will give back to us what we need, so that we have plenty to give away. We're not to hoard. We started right at the beginning of this time saying we're not going to hoard. We're going to be givers, because God is our provider, and we don't have to worry about where it all comes from. Be merciful. Be generous. Lend and don't expect it back. Be different to the world. That's the thought for today. How different are you to the people you know, the nice people that you know? Are you different? It's a good question, isn't it? I'll see you tomorrow.